Hello and welcome. This is Mr. Mack-Poole, and today we're going to focus on how useful are sources A and B for an inquiry for the reasons for the growth and support of the Nazi Party in the years 1920 to 1926. So today, basically, what we're dealing with is an exam skill, which is how useful are sources A and B. So without further ado, let's dive right in. So look, we've got one source here, source A. It's an extract from the 25-point program. All right. So we've got a list of different things from political ideology. So this is a source. It'd be public. It was clearly created with Hitler's intent in 1920. So there we go. Right, and then I'm not going to read these out. If you want to pause this and read through all of these, you can do. I'm not personally going to do that in this video now. That's not quite the point of this video. It's more to show you the skills that you'd need. And then we've got source B there, which is a quotation from a supporter at a Nazi Party meeting in 1926. And we've got a little quote there, which kind of describes how emotional he felt at seeing Adolf Hitler and how other people also felt emotional. Again, if you want to pause the video and read either of those sources, that's no problem. So how useful are these sources? Now, just taking to your mark scheme here. So this is a top level answer here. So I will read this out because this is the emphasis of this video. So a 6 to 8 mark answer: judgments on source utility usefulness for the specified inquiry are given, applying valid criteria with developed reasoning, and takes into account how the provenance affects the usefulness of the source content. The sources are analysed to support reasoning about their utility, their usefulness. Contextual knowledge, that's your own knowledge, okay? That's your knowledge. That's the knowledge that you bring to this, is used in the process of interpreting the sources and applying criteria for the judgment on their utility. Now, let me break that down because that's that's teacher talk, isn't it? So, look, they've got a nice little asterisk there, and they show you that what the provenance is. It's the nature, origin, and purpose. So, if you analyse the nature, origin, and purpose of both sources, you can't go wrong. And then all you need to do is tie this in with a little comment and a little quote around its usefulness. So, why is source A useful? Well, it's a public document. It's the political ideology and effective long-term manifesto of Adolf Hitler. Okay, so that's the nature of the source. Okay, and obviously it was embraced by the Nazi Party as well. So what's the origin? Well, it's Hitler's political ideas with some influence of other key party members. I'd expect Ernst Röhm would have a definite impact on that, especially on the more socialist ideas in the 25-point plan. So we know that the 25-point plan, and this is the contextual knowledge that you'd bring, the 25-point plan was both nationalist and socialist. So what was the purpose of source A? Well, the purpose of this document was to persuade the German public of both socialist left and the authoritarian right to join the Nazi Party. Okay, and sorry, I should have just finished that off there. Okay, no, I've got it there, to join his party. All right, to join the Nazi Party. Lovely. Okay, and let's think about source B. So source B is a primary source of a Nazi Party member remembering the event of a party meeting. And what is the origin? Well, the origin is a Nazi Party member. Now, what's the purpose of this source? So the purpose of this source is to demonstrate the emotional impact Hitler had on his party members. Now, to this extent, the source is reliable. As we know, this is contextual knowledge again, that Hitler built a cult of personality around himself with his Führer principle, his leadership principle. Now, he established this in 1926 at the Bamberg Conference. Okay, so for this reason, I think that the source is reliable because he's essentially preaching to the converted. He's making a speech to his own party members. They're obviously going to like what he's got to say. That kind of makes sense, doesn't it? Okay, so now how useful are these two sources? Well, actually, here's a bit of advice. Okay, you don't have to compare the sources. Okay, you do not have to compare them. There's no need to compare those sources. And don't get sucked into this question. Okay, it's only worth 8 marks. So you have 80 minutes in your exam and 52 marks. That's 1.5. There's a 1.5 ratio there. Therefore, with 8 marks, oh my goodness, with 8 marks rather than minutes, you should only spend 12 minutes on this question. And the essay at the end of this exam is worth double this. So please take that into account. But if you want a basic way to go through that question, you must write about the nature of the source, its origin, who wrote it, where did it come from, and its purpose. So the purpose of source A is to convince and to persuade. Okay, the purpose of source B It's to demonstrate the emotional impact which Hitler had on his party members. Okay, so you have to think, well, which one's more useful to a historian of the period? Okay, I would personally argue that source B is, okay, because it shows you how strong his leadership cult was already in 1926. Now, I'm not saying that source A is less, and there's no need to compare. Source A is somewhat useful because it demonstrates that Hitler was willing to engage people from the left and the right of the political spectrum. He was trying to create a kind of original party there, and embrace people from both sides of the political spectrum to gain mass support. Even though we think of the Nazis as an extreme right-wing party, which essentially they were, at the beginning, he did, well, remember, he called the party the National Socialist Movement. So just to conclude, there's no need to compare the sources. Don't spend too much time on this, and make sure that you discuss the nature, origin, and purpose with the usefulness of the source in mind. And with that, I'm going to call this video to an end. So goodbye and have a lovely day. Arrivederci.